Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
Trump's DOJ is trying to gain voter records from the states for weeks, having used lawsuits, even using the recent shooting to threaten Minnesota to turn over the records. What is your take? Voting records are not something that any branch of the US government is entitled to. It's sole and secret property of the individual 50 states and territories. And I thought Republicans were all about states' rights. Lol, not for blue states. When Pam Bondi says, "Give us your voter rolls, and we'll pull ICE out," says it all. They aren't there to go after illegal immigrants. It's the opposite of law enforcement. Do not negotiate with terrorists. He wants to send ICE after Democrats. Yep, it's sad. I was explaining to my dad being as American as it gets doesn't exempt him, us from this. He said he worried about some outspoken friend of ours who is an older woman. I said, if they're coming for her, they're coming for all, any political adversaries. Silence. Later tried to tell him the Sasha Riley stuff I'd heard and asked if he had. Immediately refuted it and got very, very upset. I guess cognitive dissonance is strong when raised in high control religion. Later, found out our state is on the list of those who already gave up this info. So, that's bad. Rigging the midterms by illegally cutting people from voting rolls. Charging liberals for ICE protest and then removing them from the rolls while the judges slow roll the challenge. Voters will take the case, enforce the stay, then sit in it until right before the election, then claim it's unconstitutional to make changes to an election immediately before it is to occur. One might call this a prediction, except they've literally done it before. This is it. Talk about cancelling midterms is nonsense. There is always an election. Russia has elections. I don't expect them to rig the votes. I expect a bunch of voters to show up to vote and be told they can't because they aren't registered anymore. Or aren't registered correctly. Or that they are no longer eligible to vote because they have labeled them domestic terrorists if they have been to a rally against ICE. That would be the easy way to get a lot of your opponent's supporters declared ineligible. If you voted against him, you're going to be considered a threat to national security or similar. They don't have a record of who anyone voted for. They do have pretty sophisticated models that can highlight people who probably voted against them. Records also show which primaries you vote in, even if you're registered as unaffiliated. Bondi offered to pull ICE out of Minnesota if they gave them the voter rolls. That has never been the purpose of ICE being there. It is crystal clear that the sole purpose of ICE is to intimidate and terrorize. If you are somehow still on the fence about all of this, this is your slap in the face. They will claim this is about election integrity. Remember, that was the core of their crusade against immigrants until America's shit media cycle stopped paying attention to that narrative and all the violence took over. Realistically, though, the Republican Party itself is the single biggest threat to American election integrity. Realistically, they will take these voter rolls and weaponize them against Democrats and leftist voters in a way they apparently couldn't do with the Epstein files. Because that is all any of this has ever been, the Trump administration and MAGA are nothing more than the Heritage Foundation's tools in a white Christian nationalist crusade against America itself. Wild that they can even say that Minnesota, a state that Reagan couldn't even win, was stolen from Trump and their voter rolls need to be audited. Any sane person would look at that and call BS. Orange County, California, handed their voting records over a few months ago. Just asked and their board of supervisors agreed. One of the most MAGA areas of California by population. They are making lists. Fascism 101. Give us your voting records and we'll stop terrorizing you. Just straight up extortion. They should hand over completely bogus records. Just give them the records, but with all the information redacted. I think there will be consequences for people who voted for Harris. We will be labeled as domestic terrorists or something. Things are going to get dark. Edit, darker. They're not already pretty dark. Yeah, we're already there. Very true, I just meant it's only going to get worse. They're cheating a holes and this is to cheat. That is my take. My take is that they want to manipulate and control the next elections. They will claim that they are looking for illegal immigrants voting, but that's just not true. Illegals don't vote. I think our elections are going to be fixed or manipulated in some way from now on, assuming we'll even have them. Trump said that if he was re-elected, we'll never have to worry about voting again. The time of free and fair elections is over. 2024 was already stolen. Analysts found vote shifting in the voting data. They are trying to get that information to use it to in some way game elections. The fact that they are murdering citizens in an attempt to extort the state into turning over that data is beyond damning. Trump is turning the US into a mafia state, basically like Russia. It's almost comically worse than that. What they're asking for is public information in Minnesota. Pony up $40, https://www.sos.mn.gov/election-administration-campaigns/data-maps/registered-voter-list-requests/. What a shit show. I don't know how he stood in Davos and gave that rambling incoherent speech. Yes, I listened, took 4 attempts, and is inciting violence again. Please stop him. Canada's zany face. I don't know why those world leaders didn't just get up and walk away, leave him to sundown slur to empty chairs like Clint Eastwood at a Republican convention. Sitting in stunned silence isn't enough, because they serve the wealthy, not the average person. Since this stuff isn't impacting them or their profits, they don't care. They've been doing it in lots of states, mostly getting laughed out of court when the states refuse and counter-sue. They are so sure they shouldn't have them legally, now they're trying to negotiate. We'll remove ICE agents if you give it to us. It's disgusting, illegal, and further proof there is literally no bottom for this admin. My take is that they are fascists and their supporters are the shit stains of the country. The goal is to sow uncertainty. He cannot en masse arrest 50% of the country. He is seeking election legitimacy, the ability to question it, and the illusion of enough power to threaten and intimidate half of the country. They doesn't even have to do anything, just ask for impossible things, which they know no one will comply with. It's the ACT of asking that is the aggression. Like, watch it, I can get your name on a list. Yeah, okay, asshole, see me in 6 months when you are 6 feet under. We are too big, and we have cell phones. All things other countries that have flirted with authoritarianism have not had. We have full saturation. Hungary didn't, neither did Turkey, or Germany, so I have hope. This is a rational take. Thank you. You think the cell phone is our greatest strength, but it's our greatest weakness. We are dependent on it. Take it away and how many people can read a map to get somewhere? That's just a random example. Further, they have a complete and total profile on you. They know where you go on a regular basis, and they have tools to extrapolate secondary data points to guess what they don't have hard data on with 95% accuracy or better. You think because you can record we'll be okay. What happens when they shut off the cell phone towers and blockade external internet access? Well, make our own server networks. Yeah, how are you going to spread the information on how to connect and use them? The letter from Bondi asking for voter rolls. https://www.ny-times.com/interactive/2026/01/24/pam-bondi-walls-doc.html?mark smith=nickor-ios-share. Unpaywalled https://archive.ph/yfxmh. Respect. The database, which includes all names, contact info, and voting history, is available for $46. So what info do they actually want? That's the real question here. I was going to post this exact thing. My suspicion is that when they say access, they actually mean signing onto an agreement that allows them to invalidate voter records. This is what fascists do. Palanta would love to get their hands on that data. To be fair, even a DOJ intern could handle the data. 3.7 M voters only in Minnesota. It is just to precise the size of the dataset. The records should not even exist. The vote should be anonymous. January 6th was the end of America, and pardoning everyone involved nailed America's coffin shut. So this suggests that the ICE mission is to create havoc such that state leaders will cave on demands, aka extortion, and the value of said records. A way to invalidate enough voters to save Trump's butt in the midterms. Everyone on the entire planet needs to listen to the William Sasha Riley interview tapes. Enough is enough. That the US is probably about 3 steps short of descending into a fascist nightmare. 3 steps past. Reichstag fire, untrained, undisciplined brown shirts, voter suppression, election cancellation, regime solidification, **, democracy becomes a footnote in history. No Epstein files released, edit, Trump is not a young man. When he passes we may get clues about who's pulling the strings. It's to find out who won't vote for their party to remove them from the voter rolls under the accusation they're immigrants. Tell them there's 2 million pages and as soon you go through them and verify and/or redact any unnecessary information you'll forward it to them. They want to identify Democrats. Why? Either to prevent them from voting or worse. There is no legitimate reason for them to demand these records. If the dangerous criminal immigrants in Minneapolis are so dangerous that they merit the deployment of thousands of ICE agents, why would turning over voter records suddenly make those extremely dangerous criminals less dangerous? It was never about getting dangerous criminals off the streets. If it was, they wouldn't be offering to go away if they just turn over the voting records. I don't know how you can possibly interpret this any other way. Give Trump supporters a moment and they'll come up with something. Have you ever seen FBI Director Kash Patel's children's books? When confronted with the very concept that someone who wrote such books should be nominated by the subject of those books and approved by the US Senate, Trump supporters walk off whistling as though there's nothing wrong with any aspect of that situation. The situation perfectly normal and healthy, all around. They're making lists to decide where they want to put Auschwitz too. The highly expected midterm election interference. Removed by Reddit. They want this to cook the next election. They want it because they want to publish false report of voter fraud. Repubs are playing an all-out endgame, all destructive moves intended to form new dictator gov etc. Dems are failing to respond to it appropriately. All rules have fallen apart. Dems are still taking about legal procedures.